More praise here for the Doctor Who serial, the Time Meddler. I was about to say the Time Machine. Yeah. The time, the third word being M, and it being machine just rolls off the tongue easier than Meddler. Very strong part 2, still engaging. Douglas Camfield's direction is fantastic. I'd like to read out aloud now about the casting and characters associated with this serial. Spooner studied the background of the Doctor as originally stated in the writer's guide developed for the program in 1963 by Sidney Newman, Donald Wilson, and C.E. Weber, and created the monk as the antithesis of the Doctor. While the Doctor was serious about interfering with the past, the monk finds it amusing. He envisaged the character as a schoolboy prankster from the Billy Bunter books. In the script, he was described as mischievous, sly, and cunning, with a naughty boy look. Lambert suggested the casting of Butterworth as the monk. Having seen his previous work, he was enjoyed by the cast and crew on set and was friendly with Hartnell. Anderson was hired to choreograph the forest battle in the second episode and to portray a Viking named Sven, who was previously noted by Camfield for his work as an extra on Marco Polo and had returned to work on the Aztecs and star in The Crusade. Cast as Ulf, Hartley was an old friend of Camfield's. The Time Meddler was the first serial to feature Stephen Taylor as a full companion. The role of Stephen, originally named Michael in the scripts, had not been filled by the 13th of May, the month before filming began, after witnessing Purvis' role as Morton Deal in the recording of The Chase the following day. Lambert and Spooner approached him and offered him the role. Purvis accepted the role within days. On 21st of May, he was contracted for 3 stories, 13 episodes, with an option for a further 20 episodes by the 10th of September, and another 26 by the 4th of February, 1966. He grew a beard for his role as Stephen in the final episode of The Chase, but he wore a fake beard for the first episode of The Time Meddler, as Stephen becomes clean-shaven partway through. His role as a companion on the show was announced on the 18th of June 1965. Purvis quickly bonded with Hartnell and O'Brien, and they would occasionally have dinner together after rehearsals. Purvis was pleased with Spooner's scripts and development of Stephen's character, though O'Brien was unimpressed. With Stephen's character or with the scripts? The source is Ainsworth 2016. Doctor Who: The Complete History. I wouldn't necessarily doubt that. I mean, it seems like a legitimate source, obviously. If we could end it here, or maybe we could... This serial is important because it's about the monk attempting to change the outcome of the Battle of Hastings. Why is that important? I'll tell you that here. I think history is quite exciting. I'm going to help you all find it exciting as well. The Battle of Hastings was fought on the 14th of October 1066 between the Norman-French army of William, the Duke of Normandy, and an English army under the Anglo-Saxon king Harold Godwinson, beginning the Norman conquest of England. It took place approximately 7 miles, 11 kilometres northwest of Hastings, close to the present-day town of Battle, East Sussex, and was a decisive Norman victory. The background to the battle was the death of the childless King Edward the Confessor in January 1066, which set up a succession struggle between several claimants to his throne. Harold was crowned king shortly after Edward's death, but faced invasions by William, his own brother Tostig, and the Norwegian king Harald Hardrada, Harold III of Norway. Hardrada and Tostig defeated a hastily gathered army of Englishmen at the Battle of Fulford on the 20th of September 1066, and were in turn defeated by Harold at the Battle of Stamford Bridge 5 days later. The deaths of Tostig and Hardrada at Stamford Bridge left William as Harold's only serious opponent. While Harold and his forces were recovering, William landed his invasion forces in the south of England at Pevensey on the 28th of December 1066 and established a beachhead for his conquest of the kingdom. Harold was forced to march south swiftly, gathering forces as he went. It's important to note here, what the monk in the Time Meddler wanted to do was to sink the vessels of the fleet of King Harald Hardrada and leave more of Harold Godwinson's forces to face William the Conqueror, possibly allowing for Harold's victory over William's invasion. The exact numbers present at the battle are unknown, as even modern estimates vary considerably. The composition of the forces is clearer. The English army was composed almost entirely of infantry and had few archers, whereas only about half of the invading force was infantry. The rest split equally between cavalry and archers. Harold appears to have tried to surprise William, but scouts found his army and reported its arrival to William, who marched from Hastings to the battlefield to confront Harold. The battle lasted from about 9 a.m. to dusk. Early efforts of the invaders to break the English battle lines had little effect. Therefore, the Normans adopted the tactic of pretending to flee in panic and then turning on their pursuers. Harold's death, probably near the end of the battle, led to the retreat and defeat of most of his army. After further marching and some skirmishes, William was crowned as king on Christmas Day 1066. There continued to be rebellions and resistance to William's rule, but Hastings effectively marked the culmination of William's conquest of England. Casualty figures are hard to come by, but some historians estimate that 2,000 invaders died along with about twice that number of Englishmen. William founded a monastery at the site of the battle, the high altar of the Abbey Church supposedly placed at the spot where Harold died. From what I can understand, life for the average English person did not particularly change much after William conquered. You know, the language wasn't changed to Norman. The language of the elites was changed to Norman, but if you were just a commoner, life didn't change that much. The systems of government and bureaucracy that were in place were Anglo-Saxon, and the new Norman administrators just figured to take over the roles. And maybe if you're of the nobility, you would have suffered, but if you're the average person, it was just kind of a, meet the new boss, same as the old boss sort of deal. Anyway, I've waffled on for a bit too long now, I think. Do tune in next time to the Time Meddler Part 3 here on AOD's Classic Doctor Who Retrospective, but only if you are so inclined.